Welcome back everyone to BookByte. Tonight's video dives into one of the most moving books ever written, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. This isn't just a memoir, it's a map of the human soul, a guide to surviving suffering and finding meaning in pain. In the next hours, I'll walk you through every key idea, explain clearly, no fluff. Whether you're searching for purpose, healing old wounds, or just growing wiser, this one will change how you see life. Before he became a prisoner, he was a man who studied the human soul, a doctor, a psychologist, a dreamer of healing. In Vienna, he built his life quietly, deeply. He believed that behind every action, there is always a deeper why. And then came the knock on the door. Nazi soldiers stood outside. No warning, no goodbye. His world shattered slowly, quietly, like ice breaking beneath your feet. But inside, his mind remained untouched, and in his pocket, he carried notes for a book he hoped to write someday. The train rolled for hours, cold, dark, endless. When they arrived, the gates read, "Work sets you free." But freedom, that was far from them. Men and women were torn apart, children taken, names replaced with numbers. Viktor Frankl became prisoner 119,104. He watched as his manuscript, the one he had poured years into, burned before his eyes, and still he held onto something else. Not paper, not ink, but a thought that would keep him alive. He began asking himself, what gives life meaning even when everything else is gone? He noticed something strange. How people reacted to suffering wasn't random. There were patterns, stages. First, shock, disbelief, denial. Then, illusion, a fragile hope that things might still be okay. Finally, depression, silence, emptiness. And yet, some found light, even in the emptiness. Those who held on to meaning walked forward while others fell behind. Because pain becomes bearable when we know why we are going through it. Frankl asked himself a question, one that changed everything. Not how do I survive, but why should I survive? And in that small shift, lived all the power of meaning. He saw men give up, not because they had no food, but because they had no reason to live. So he learned this truth, one that would shape his life. Suffering only has meaning when we choose to give it meaning, and once meaning is found, pain becomes something different, something softer, something worth carrying. One night, as snow fell around him, he walked in silence, surrounded by fear, and yet his thoughts wandered to her, to his wife, Tilly. She had been sent to another camp. He didn't know if she was alive, but in his mind, she was beside him. Her smile, her eyes, her presence, and in that memory, he found strength, because love is not bound by time or place. It lives in our thoughts and gives us reason to walk forward, even when we have nothing left, even in the darkest places. Frankl saw something unexpected. Laughter, jokes whispered between prisoners, small moments of joy hidden in horror. He realized humor was not distraction, it was survival. It gave people space to breathe, to forget their pain, even for a second. And in those seconds, humanity returned. We don't always get to choose our path, but we can choose to carry laughter even through the coldest nights. After the war, Frankl rebuilt his life, and from the ashes, he created something new, a form of therapy built not on pain but on purpose. He called it logotherapy, the therapy of meaning, because he learned this truth in the camps. We cannot always avoid pain, but we can always choose what makes it bearable. And that choice is what keeps us alive. The day came. The Americans arrived. The Nazis fled. The camps were empty, except for survivors. Frankl stepped out, thin, tired, changed. He no longer searched for happiness. He searched for meaning, because he now knew happiness comes from meaning, not the other way around. You may never face what Frankl did, but you've known pain, grief, loss, loneliness. Maybe a job ended, or a relationship broke, or a dream faded away. And in that moment you ask yourself, is this worth it? What is my meaning? Remember, meaning isn't given. It's chosen by thinking of someone you love, by holding on to hope, by choosing to grow, not break. There's a quiet truth in this book, one that echoes long after you close its pages. That suffering is part of life, not a mistake. And that growth often begins with grief. Frankl teaches us this. Life is not about avoiding pain, it's about carrying meaning through it. So, ask yourself, tonight, what gives you meaning, even when life gets hard? One of Frankl's most famous lines goes like this. Between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space is our power to choose. Think about that. No matter what happens to you, you always have choice. How to act, how to feel, how to live. That's the heart of logotherapy. And the soul of this book. We all suffer. Some lose. Some fail. Some simply feel alone. And in each of these moments, we are given the same test. Do we give up, or do we search for meaning? Frankl shows us meaning doesn't erase pain, but it gives us strength to carry it. Survival wasn't the end of Frankl's journey. It was the beginning. He built again. He wrote again. He loved again. And he taught others this lesson. Growth doesn't come after ease. It comes after struggle. So whatever you're walking through, don't wait for pain to leave. Find meaning first and watch your path change. Frankl wrote this book in just 9 days, not because he rushed, but because the words had already been burning inside him, every line shaped by suffering and softened by meaning. So as we reach the final chapters, ask yourself, what do I live for? What gives my life weight, even when I feel weak? Man's Search for Meaning has sold millions of copies, translated into over 24 languages. Not because it's easy to read, but because it's impossible to forget. It reminds us that meaning is not something we find, it's something we create with every choice, with every memory, with every step forward. So if you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for watching, for listening, for feeling. And if this book has moved you, if it has stirred something inside you, then don't keep it in your head. Bring it into your life. Reflect on your own pain and ask yourself, what meaning will you give it? His book was published in 1946, nearly 80 years ago, and still it speaks to students, to doctors, to artists, to parents, to anyone searching for purpose in a world full of noise, because meaning doesn't fade with time. It grows stronger with every person who chooses it. As we finish this story, I'll leave you with questions Frankl asked himself. What gives you meaning? Who do you live for? What helps you walk through darkness? Don't rush to answer. Sit with it. Feel it. Maybe write it down. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what quote hit you hardest today. And remember, we cannot always control what happens to us, but we can always choose how we respond. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video, where we dive into another life-changing story. BookByte. New summaries every week.